Take a Ride podcast. I'm your host here, Starks. You can find me on my Twitter handle. It's at Starks_industry. You guys can also find me on Instagram, One Closing Hero. I'm not here alone this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the fantasy world. I have the combo guard running the two, Jacob the White Knight. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. Just celebrating the Christmas season in style with my Buffs cheesy sweater right here. Let's go Buffs.
Nice. On a great Sunday, we have some good information for you guys. And not only him, but we have the three-man running the wing, LT the Sage. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good. Got the I'm looking very intellectual today. Got the glasses on, so little different look for the listeners. Don't worry, it won't happen again. But over to you, Starks.
Hey, it's nothing wrong with glasses, man. You gotta be a little sophisticated every once in a while, right?
That's true.
or maybe not. So in this episode in particular, what we're going to do is run through what's important to get you guys started for the week. The streaming options, the waiver wire ads for week is at 9, Jacob, for going forward.
Yep. Yes,
awesome.
sir.
And then at the same time, quick commercial break here is check out newlifefantasy.com. Join the mailing list, join as a member. That way, when an article is released, it'll be dropped notification through via email or cell phone. At the same time, you know, the articles that we're pumping up the high volume on, we don't just do fantasy basketball, we also do baseball and football. Jacob just released his waiver wire article for the week, so make sure you guys check that out on newlifefantasy.com. LT is putting the hard work behind the YouTube channels on our New Life Fantasy, so subscribe that, sub-zero that button there. Hit that bell. It's dinner time. Comment below. Give us a thumbs up. And obviously, as well, if you have any podcast format, make sure you let your competitors know or your friends know to subscribe to the podcast. So it definitely helps out. We'll dive into this, like I said, this episode more strictly for the injuries, and at the same time, the waiver wire and streaming options. And then we'll have a dynasty outlook on a player that I want to at least touch up on, Bradley Beal, and then we'll get into the clutch shots. So without further ado, I'm ready to take people on for a ride. And in particular, for the injuries that has happened, I think it's really important to touch up on is, as you guys know, Luka Doncic, he had that unfortunate ankle sprain. It looked pretty bad at first. He could have missed a long amount of time. Mm-hmm. He got away being out for a couple of weeks. So I will pass you the ball there, Jacob. You know, what's your thoughts on this in particular, man?
What's a bummer is here we thought it was just going to be a game or two, but Luka is set to miss several weeks as far as that goes, which is an incredible bummer. But like you said, Starks, it looked terrible, and at least he's not out for like 2 to 3 months, you know. So definitely count your blessings. But in the meantime, I know that you had a tweet saying that, you know, like Jalen, Brunson's a speculative ad, and so is Delon, Wright. And for me, I think that if you need 3-pointers, points, and assists, it's Brunson. If you need steals with a bunch of low-end stuff, it's Delon right there. But that's what I think. It's definitely something to keep your eye out on when the Maps play next, for sure, to see who gets the starting nod. But those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts there, LT?
Yeah, I like Brunson Burmer a lot here. My man Jalen here. I really do like him. He's had some decent games. You know, he's always having an issue with minutes. But anytime he gets pretty good minutes, I'm showing the listeners right now, 17 minutes, 18 minutes, he's producing 16 points, 14 points. Won't, like the White Knight said, won't produce a lot of stock stats for you, right. But he will score and shoot the rock up. So I do like Brunson Burner here. Delon Wright, he's cool. He's a good pickup too. The other two that may be available is Seth Curry and Tim Hardaway Jr., Garlic Jr. He probably hasn't picked up since he's been catching fire the last couple of weeks. But if they're available in your leagues, they're going to be probably big beneficiaries from him, Luka, missing time. But I'll pass that rock over to you, Starks.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just go ahead and emphasize a little bit more as you guys broke that down. Thank you. I was going to say, you know, one of the main questions that kept coming to me, like, Stark, do you take Jalen Brunson or are you going to take Delon Wright if they're available? honestly, kind of what Jacob had broke down. What is the need for your team? And if you need those low-end counting stats, it would be Delon Wright for the threes and maybe assists there, Jalen Brunson. But I will say this, if I had to just put it on value alone, you would think Wright, but I kind of might segue and maybe think Brunson, because Brunson, he got the bulk of the minutes. He started right after Luka was out. So that's something to keep in mind. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case, but that's something you got to take in consideration. Just like what LT talked about when it came to Tim Hardaway Jr., if he's available, he's definitely worth an add too, because he's going to score you a lot of points and threes. But other than that, you'll get empty stats typically behind that. And I think that was a good talk about on Seth Curry as well in the deep format, because he could be a potential add. So we'll go ahead and jump on to another injury here that was unfortunate, and it was Blake Griffin. I feel like we've been talking about him recently, but it makes sense that we got to, because the regression that I mentioned on him in the newlifefantasy.com in the Dynasty format was an issue with the regression that's coming his way. But here's the thing. He got injured in this game. And then, there was a report he came back on the bench. And then I was like, okay, cool. He's all right. But then he went back out. So he was out for the rest of the game. So I was just like, oh, man, this is a tough issue. Not only that, but the concern is, the injury that he had, I believe, is either early this year or last year, the knee injury. Yeah. And it's almost like a repeat situation here. So my thought logic is this: it's unfortunate. Not only is it unfortunate, how long could he be out? It's still uncertain. There's no timetable on it, but that is concerning. Real quick as I go, the immediate pickup, at least in my logic here, would be the guy that I've been trying to beat the drums on all season, is Christian Wood. Hopefully that he gets the time. I know Thon Maker started this game too, but I don't think he's the guy there, but I hopefully Christian Wood would get the time. He well deserves it. Christian Wood could give you those double-double stats with the blocks and some other good stats behind it. So that's someone to keep in consideration on the team. I'll pass you the ball there, Jacob. What's your thoughts on this Blake Griffin, and who could be a potential, pickup there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Griffin dealing with left knee soreness. I mean, you never like to see a lower body injury. So, I agree with you there, like hashtag free Christian Wood, like we've been beating on that drum all season, and hopefully he does get some more minutes. I do think that Thon Maker is just like a ceremonial start, and then Wood is just going to get all those minutes, hopefully, right? All right, fingers crossed. But I think it's going to be a collective effort, not just of big men, but I think that it's going to be a few guards here. Like Luke Kennard's going to pick up the slack, and so is Bruce Brown Jr., which I love in a deep league right now. I would definitely think
he
about.
Just had a good game too.
Right, absolutely. If he gets the minutes and he either starts or comes off the bench, I really like him in like a 14 team or higher league right now. And then there's a player that I think that the Pistons will actually run their offense through, but I'll let LT there. I'll pass the ball to LT and I'll let him squeeze the orange on that guy there.
Oh, you White Knight. I appreciate
juice it on somebody.
Nah, I'm not about to juice. I'm not going to juice the orange. The player he's talking about is Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is going to. He's been playing really well as of late. Yes. He's avoided injury. So that's the main thing. As long as he can get out on the court, he's going to produce at a pretty good level. So Derrick Rose definitely is going to see an uptick of shots, just like the beginning of the year we saw when Blake Griffin was out earlier. But you guys touched on everybody else. The main guy that I love is Luke Kennard. He just came back. I think he was injured. He is back from injury now. And just look out for him. He seems like the guy that they really are investing time in, and he's been producing pretty good all year long. And that's all I got, brothers. You already touched up on the Christian Wood, so I'll pass the rock over to you, Starks.
Yeah, real quick on that. Another person I can also think that could be kind of like a borderline big man hybrid type of player would be Markieff Morris, because he did get some minutes there too. But just like I agree with you guys there, especially Jacob, it would be a collective effort around the whole team in particular that's going to get a nice little boost in usage. And honestly, like Luke Kennard, even Bruce Brown as well. And there was something, I'll do you the favor and I'll do you the justice real quick, LT. I'll juice the orange for you, even though I don't want to. But Derrick Rose, here, check this out. The last time he had a 20-10 game with, so 12 assists with 20 points. The last time he had a 20-10 game was back in 2015. So I just want to at least say that. That's crazy, man. So I'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and move along. I bet that felt good. So we'll go ahead and move along here in particular. And another player that was actually is coming back here today is Vooch. He's definitely coming back here today. He's been out for quite some time. I'll pass you the ball there, Jack. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, I mean, that's great news for all of you Vooch owners. That's a bummer news. I had as a streamer today, a low end streamer in a deep league, but I had Kem Birch as a streamer. He essentially loses 100% value. He is no longer he is no longer usable. I can say that with full confidence. He was getting you blocks just because he was getting a ton of minutes, but now he's going to be relegated to the bench, where Bamba is probably going to slide back into that 15, 18-minute role and getting a bunch. And watch out for those load management too. So honestly, all of the big men get their values sapped here. Those are all the thoughts I have. I think that Terrence Ross gets a little bit of a bump down too. I don't know if that's what you were going to say, LT, but those are all my thoughts on the Magic here. I'm going to overhead pass the ball there to you.
I Odell Beckham caught it, but I realized that that's football, so sorry about that. T-Pain, exactly. T-Pain, yeah, he's in pain right now because his shots are going to go way down. With Vooch coming back, now it's going to take Vooch. Usually he's a big man. Usually big men take a couple games to kind of get revved back, get their engines revved back then. But Terrence Ross will be the main guy who's going to he's been shooting the ball crazy, a lot of pumping up the volumes since Vooch has been out. This may affect our guy Isaac a little bit, but Isaac was producing even when Vooch was in there. So Aaron Gordon too. Mostly the big guys like White Knight stated, and I think T-Pain kind of goes back to his maybe 7 to 10 shots per game. So I'll pass the rock over to you, Starks.
No, man, I was waiting for you to say your boy Chemical Birch, man. Kem Birch is going to lose the maximum value as well too. He's probably going to be on the waiver wires probably as quickly as possible after this situation arises. But it's good to see Vooch back, and I like to see what Orlando does. And as far as T-Pain, like you said, T. Ross, it could damper him, but he's still kind of a six-man, so maybe he can still be okay. But I want to touch up on another injury that was actually surprising, and is Eric Bledsoe. And as LT and honestly Terry Rozier would say a few years ago, Drew Bledsoe in the playoffs. So Eric Bledsoe, he's out for a couple of weeks, and I think this is a right fibula in evolution fracture, whatever that is. That's an unfortunate situation. It looks like he's out a couple of weeks. So. The person sticks out to mind is Donte DiVincenzo. We've talked about him on a lot of episodes, but that's because of Eric Bledsoe has just been he's been decent this year, but he hasn't been the top 50 player that, a lot of us potentially expected him to be. But that's what it is. Donte is going to get a nice value along with a lot of players usage to come up, but the biggest beneficiary would be Donte DiVincenzo. I'll pass you the ball there, Jacob. What's your thoughts, man?
Thank you, brother. DiVincenzo is a great ad for sure, Starks. I would, if he's not there on your wire, I would definitely look to George Hill. Only,
I was waiting for Starks to say it.
Why so curious, man? Right, Starks?
I was waiting for
why so curious?
Curious George Hill. I mean, you know what you get with him. You get, like he doesn't hurt you in any category, really. Like he doesn't get you any
you hear that too?
Well, I'm just saying, like, as far as turnovers go,
that's good. No, I'm just saying
it stays at like he keeps it he keeps that like 0 to 1 to 2 at the most. Field goal percentage is always solid. You know, he doesn't take like a ton of shots. His points, rebounds, and assists are all pretty much low end, but they get the job done. So if that's what you're looking for, you know, like, I would definitely give him a shot, and he could luck into a steal or two. You know, as he's probably looking at a bump in minutes here. But I'll pass the ball there to you, LT. What do you think?
Yeah, man. So unfortunately, Curious George himself will be a beneficiary here. He's probably gonna stumble into a couple more shots per game and a little bit more minutes. He's share them. Yeah, you hear my voice, right? Comparative to Donte DiVincenzo. I hate to say it, but it's true. But seriously, this is the same thing that happened with Middleton. Is going to probably happen with this team as well. Middleton's back. He is playing pretty decent, but you're probably just going to see Giannis cover, you know, kind of put the backpack on again as usual. Now that one of his main cogs is out in the starting lineup. So look to him to have a little bit of higher stats. But definitely George Hill and Donte, those are the two guys that stick out to me. I wish I can speak about Pat Connaughton, but I can't.
I wish I could too.
I wish I could talk. I really like that guy coming from the Blazers. I really wish he was getting more playing time, but I guess my man DiVincenzo is just doing better. So I will pass the rock back over to you, Starks.
Let me steal the ball there. Starks, I have a question. Can I interest you in Ersan Ilyasova?
Oh man, you can always interest me in Ghostface Killer, man, any time of the week. So he's more of a deep league type of guy, but you know that's where I stand with him, you know, in particular.
Okay, right.
And then real quick, going on to the next part of the news here. I had a listener come at my neck on this, and it was after I announced or actually when I did the article on Devin Booker article. It's like as soon as I mentioned him, literally a listener was like, "You put the evil on him." I was like, "What?" Because he got injured, right? And he's like, and it's like it was almost like, I don't like to do that juju on people, but if that was the case, I do apologize to the listener that hold Devin Booker so dearly. So forgive me. I'm sorry, my good man. But as far as Booker goes, he could be out. I think he might be back on the next game. Wouldn't be surprised, but he could be out for a couple games, or a game or two. But the immediate thoughts, especially on the ad. One of the guys is Mikal Bridges in a more shallow league. He did get the start in place of Booker in the recent game. Will Booker be back soon? I don't know. You guys should check out the article. I won't juice the orange too much on Booker, but Booker has been having a career season this year, although he's had a lot of regression in his stats. One thing it does stick out that Jacob he might have seen or may not have seen is Booker as a guard. He's shooting over 50% this year. That's great. A lot of guards just don't do that, especially those that have a high volume of shots. So he's been transcending in a way as far as guards goes. And I know it's been the Luka show all season, but it's just, I think people just kind of overlook Booker, but Mikal Bridges, and then I'll pass the ball to Jacob because I know there's another guy he wants to speak up on that he had on his waiver wire article streams, that is.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you. So, first of all, if we're going to blame you for the Booker injury, I think I mentioned Luka Doncic in an article, so you all can blame me for that. It's ridiculous if if anyone blames you for that. That was a well-written article, and it's just bad timing. Yeah,
thanks, man. So it's unfortunate.
It is, but that is a part of the game, right? So we have to adapt, we have to stream, and we have to get through it. So on the Suns, like you said in my waivers and streamers article, I really like Cameron Johnson, rookie out of Kentucky, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yes. I believe that's Kentucky.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Ooh, the rival. Okay. Yeah. Cameron Johnson, he got 33 minutes last night, and he is definitely a 3-point specialist, but he can also luck into a steal. He gets you solid boards. But if you need threes and you need some upside, I would definitely give Cameron Johnson a look in 14-team leagues or higher for sure. So I'll pass the rock there to LT. Do you see anyone here who would benefit if he's out for a lengthy amount of time?
No, you're good. No, I actually, you're Cameron Johnson. I didn't even think about him, so that's good. I really don't have too many people. I think that you probably see an uptick in minutes of the starters because the Suns, here's the cheat code. Their top 5-6 rotations are pretty set in stone. They have a couple people they switch out like Frank the Tank and Aaron Baines. But they're pretty good on their rotations. So I just see an uptick in minutes for the top guys. And then Ricky Rubio probably have a little bit more assists, Kelly Oubre, stuff like that. So look for that. I don't think, from what I remember looking at yesterday, I don't think it's too serious, his injury. So hopefully he only misses. They'll be safe for him. That's their guy. So maybe only 2 to 3 game absence. So look for a couple of streaming options, and because White Knight has them out there in his recent article. Check some streaming options if you have some availability, and I'll probably get you till he comes back. But I'll go ahead and reverse pass the ball over to Starks.
Oh, got it. Oof. So good pass, man. I was just going to say also, Tyler Johnson is another guy to keep in mind too in the deep format. Okay. Now going back on Mikal Bridges, he's going to get you those low end stats, but the beautiful thing about him is he'll get you those hustle stats, get you some sneaky rebounds from time to time. And I know he's been a headache for a lot of those GMs out there for this year that at least believed in some of the hype train, some of the echo, but hopefully that even when Booker comes back, I still hope that he holds value at the end of the season. So that's something to say. As far as Suns go, kind of like what LT said, it's going to be a collective amount, especially like Rubio getting a nice little tick and actually maybe scoring a little bit more, but Booker shouldn't be out too long. So, that's what it is. And we'll kind of go into the next quarter here, and we'll kind of just jump in strictly to, Jacob's hardcore website, or excuse me, hardcore blog that he put on the streams and waivers on newlifefantasy.com, and we'll give you guys the breakdown. So one of the questions I want to actually ask you here, Jacob, I know we kind of, go back and forth as far as like who would be someone in particular throughout the week. We want to continue to do that. But I know one of the, actually before we get to that, I want to actually mention there's a speculative ad that I want to mention before I forget. I think his name is from Golden State, Jacob Evans. So that could be a guy that you can look at in Golden State again. And I think it's because of Kai Bowman went to the G League. I don't know if that was on your article yet there, Jacob. But for Bowman to be in the G League and Evans had a pretty good game in Golden State, again, it's still musical chairs there. But the unfortunate thing, even if you take a speculative ad for week 9, Golden State, I believe from my understanding, only have 2 games next week. So that's going to be a bummer. But he's worth a stab in the dark because you just don't know what Golden State. Now, if he gets the minutes, because there's a little bit of, some upside potential with him, I definitely would like to have him on my team. He's secretly, not many people know, but he's secretly a 1-1 type of threat guy. I'm not saying that's what he's going to do if he gets the minutes, but if there is anybody that I love to have on my team as a 1-1 potential type threat, and he could be that guy, I'm not saying he's going to be that guy, but there's just one person that you want to be quick on it, especially when it comes to, taking the stab on someone before a lot of people jumps on a player. But I just wanted to throw that out there. So, again, just keep in mind, Golden State's only having 2 games next week. And I'm only thinking about maybe because Draymond, we know about D'Angelo Russell, how often are they going to be on the court? So that's one thing to keep in mind. So, Jacob, who are your recommendations here for the week, man?
Thank you, brother. Yeah, that is a great point you made there. Golden State only has 2 games, so definitely keep that in mind if you are streaming or if you need some extra games this week, either in a 9-cat or 8 points league. But first of all, there a lot of my streamers only play three games this week. So just keep that in mind if you are looking to stream in between. But some of my top streamers here, Matisse Thybulle, I'm a sucker for guys who can steal and block. Those are extremely valuable. And he's been getting a lot a lot more minutes as of late, just because Jay Rich has been injured. Yes, but they're still going to need to keep his minutes to a minimum, like 20 to 25, just because like hamstring injuries are tricky. So I believe that Tybal will still get some run here. Fingers crossed, of course. Like you never know, but I'm a sucker for that. Like anyone who can consistently rack up steals and blocks. And then I like Jakob Hurdle. He's been getting a lot more minutes lately. He has the trust of Popovich. He gets you solid field goal percentage, rebounds, and blocks, which is extremely valuable. And before I go on, all these guys are available in 50% and under in Yahoo, ESPN, and Fantrax. There could be even better streamers on your wire, but I can't see each individual wire. So we go with 50% or under rule. If there is someone that you think is a better streaming candidate, you are more than welcome to tweet at me or Starks or LT to see if they are a better option. So with that, third, I love me some Sedai Osman. I know we've been down this path before a few times. He gets hot and cold, but he actually has a decent schedule this week as he faces the Raptors, who are very high-paced offense, and then he faces the Hornets, easily beatable team. And then he faces the Grizzlies, another easily beatable team. So I definitely like him. And if you only want to stream him against the Hornets and Grizzlies, I definitely get that. But I think he does perform in those games. Damian Jones, his time as a fantasy relevant center is coming to an end. But I think you can still enjoy here these last 3 games before John Collins comes back. Actually, he comes back a little after Christmas, huh? So you can still stream him here for 4 to 6 more games as a guy who starts. He hovers around 20 minutes. Alex Len has been playing better, and it's been eating into his minutes here. But he provides you with field goal percentage, rebounds, and blocks, and then. Lastly here, I wanted to highlight Ben McLemore. He keeps shooting the ball. He keeps shooting threes and hitting threes for a team who all they want to shoot are threes. And so he essentially took over that Eric Gordon role, and all he does is shoot threes. And he's been getting you some stock stats, just because he's been playing so many minutes, like he lucks into some stuff for sure. So I would definitely give him a look here, especially on Thursday, which is a slow game day here. So those are my initial thoughts there, Starks, as far as streamings go.
Nice. And I'll pass the ball to LT real quick. I'm glad that because I was waiting for it. I wanted to talk about Alex Len too, like you said. He's been doing well under the radar, and honestly, the last 2 weeks he's been inside the top 25. Now, do I think it's sustainable? Heck no, I don't. But honestly, it's unfortunate because John Collins, like you said, is coming back. So that's something to think about as well. As far as Damian Jones, to the relevancy on certain players in the lanes when it comes to bigs is going to be unfortunate when John Collins comes back. But I know I was behind Alex Len as a potential very deep round flyer in a dynasty format, and even potentially your last pick in redraft formats if you're like in a 14-man league or deeper. But you got to deploy him right now for what he's doing. Now, like I said, again, I don't think it's sustainable, but that's just something to keep in mind. LT, is there some stream options that you see there that you want to talk about for the listeners there, brother?
Yeah, I have 2 that I want to talk about real quick, and I'm so glad that White Knight touched up on it, but my man Jacob the Jeweler, okay, I'm looking for those. I'm looking for those cheap big men.
Exactly.
Hardcore.
Jacob the Jeweler from the Spurs is picking it up. I actually picked him up earlier in the season. and I thought he was going to get the majority of the time, and kind of was going back and forth. But finally, Popovich is deploying him on a higher than average clip. I think he's been averaging closer to that 25-minute area. So I'm actually he's actually been doing good as a cheap big for some of my teams. So I am liking him. So that's one that I want to talk about. The other guy I want to talk about is Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts. You have to. Yeah. It's one of those. It's like Google back when they first started, right? If you wish you would have had stock in some of those, stock in Google, right? The Heat are no joke. You want to put in your stocks in players that are on that team, because they're playing at a high clip and they're blowing teams out. That means Dunkin' Donuts is going to get more time. As you know, potential Jimmy Butler taking some rest days at the end of the season. Dunkin' Donuts would be a high person coming off the bench for them if Jimmy Butler were to miss time. So I love Dunkin' Donuts, what he's doing at which minimum minutes. He's not playing extremely high minutes, but if you can get him, and it's so weird to me to see Yahoo so close to Fantrax on Dunkin' Donuts, but it must be the name. So just go ahead and pick them up if you can. In a 12-man league, depending on you can't do worse, I think, on the bench. So just look out for him going forward. And that's all I got. Starks are two who really jump out at me. What do you have?
Yeah. So last thing on Dunkin' Donuts, Robinson there. He's got that beautiful eligibility, shooting guard, small forward, and power forward. So that is something to, utilize for those that are struggling on two of the positions, or 2 out of 3, or just even one position. You can use that under your discretion. One of the ones I think is, I'm glad that you have it on here, because I don't think he's getting enough talk about right now. And it's understandable, right? And it's Denzel Valentine in Chicago in particular. Now, the thing about him is, we know Chicago, who they are right now. It's unfortunate. But one thing that he's been doing, he's been getting some threes. He's been getting you some sneaky assists, and he'll get you a steal. And the thing about his fantasy in particular, he got fantasy game. It's just all about if he could just get on the floor. He's just one of those guys that could potentially get you those threes, those assists, and those steals. And those stats in particular is nice to have. His minutes has been slowly on an uptick. In particular, he took more shots the last game. Taking more snipes. And, he's a guy that will stroke. He'll take the shot. He's not afraid of it. And one of those previous games, he had 4 steals too. So I hope he gets more minutes. But the thing is, Chicago is just a different type of hybrid team. But I also want to segue into another guy. I'm sure he's more owned in a lot of leagues, is Chris Dunn, right? He is getting the starts in Chicago. And I think that needs to be highlighted on. His last game, he had a very good game too. In particular, I think he had like a few steals and a couple blocks here.
Three blocks and 2 steals.
Woof, exactly. And he's not going to score you a lot of points, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't need that. And he had 9 rebounds that game. So those low end stats is the beautiful thing. This is why you need those tools that you utilize as it has a whole bunch of tools in it. I'm not going to even try it, but anyway,
a Swiss Army knife?
He's a Swiss Army knife. Yes. Nice. It took me like a million years to come up with this. He's a Swiss Army knife. Thanks, guys. But the points, again, don't need the points. You're going to accept and enjoy all those other stats in category leagues. And honestly, that's useful in points leagues. If you go back to the streaming list there, LT, I was just going to also say that, another guy that I'm eating my crow on is Garrett Temple, Legends of the Hidden Temple. Shirley Temple. He continues to get the minutes, man. And I just don't get it, but you got to just basically, Fantrax knows it, 45% owned. But, other jams, and if you're in more deeper formats, 14 or more, I think you got to deploy him. I'll pass you the ball there, Jacob, if there's some more players you want to definitely talk about in your article there, brother.
Love all those takes, brothers. Yeah. So at number 7 there, Josh Okogie, he is starting, and the coach says that he will continue to start, and he's getting minutes in the 30s, and that's wonderful as far as streaming goes, and adding if you want to take a speculative ad on guy who is guaranteed to get minutes. He's going to provide you with those 3-pointers and some low end points, and with that many minutes, he can definitely luck into he can definitely luck into some steals for sure. And then a few guys that I just want to say out here just to have in your mind here. Patty Mills. I had him as a streamer even before his blow-up game where he had 26 points and 6 threes. He is capable of that. He's not going to do that every game. His average game is probably 2 3-pointers for 9 points, 4 assists, a few boards here, and a few steals, but those are solid streaming stats. And I actually own him here in it's a deep roster 12-team league. I own him because to have those consistent threes and steals is super nice. And with that potential to blow up, just a cherry on top for sure. And then DJ Augustine, he's always getting you minutes. He's always getting you points, assists, and some steals. That's nice consistency. Brian Forbes is another point guard for the Spurs that keeps producing too. And then Kyle Anderson of the Grizzlies, he just came back from injury, and he provides you some steals and some boards and assists. They're all like low end, but that's solid for streaming purposes. Bobby Portis, he's starting to get a little bit more run after the firing of Fizdale, and then the always reliable Royce O'Neal. Oh, okay. We'll stick to Bobby Portis here. See those minutes. He's keeping up around like 26, 18, 19, 24, 17. So, and he's jacking up shots in limited time, which isn't great in a 9-cat league. But a points league, Bobby Portis is a solid player to own just because he is hucking up those shots. He's getting you boards. Not really any stock stats, but we all know that about Portis. He gets you some solid points as well. And then Royce O'Neal kind of rounds out. He gets you high minutes. He gets you threes and steals. He's not going to do anything flashy. He is probably the least flashiest player in the NBA, but he gets the job done as far as threes and steals go. And then one more preface is I did have Corey Joseph as a top streamer this week, but De'Aaron Fox says that he wants to play on Tuesday. So that destroys any sort of value that Joseph had. So that is great news for all of you Fox owners and any of you guys that own Joseph. You can definitely cut bait just as long as Fox does indeed return here on Tuesday.
Real quick, I was going to steal the ball before I get to LT. It's funny. I don't know if you guys are like this, but Corey Joseph is one of those guys you want to cut as quickly as possible, but
right.
You got to roster him because he's getting the minutes. But he's just not giving you like everything you need, but you got to roster him and right. I don't know, it's just me, but in particular. So, he is giving you those very low end stats, but that's just something to keep in mind. LT, is there any other guys you want to talk about on the streams there, brother?
No. We've talked about everyone and pretty good. One observation I wanted to make, I know me and Starks had talked about the difference between ESPN, Yahoo, Fantrax, and it's just weird that Cameron Johnson is owned 25% in ESPN and 1% in Fantrax and 3% in Yahoo. But ESPN is never on top of their game when it comes to like potential players. What's different about? Do you know the secret cheat code, White Knight, on Cameron Johnson that we don't know about that ESPN does?
Let me steal the ball from you there, and that's a great point. I definitely think that ESPN is behind when it comes to adding and rostering players, but that's actually a user error by me. I apologize to all of you guys. It's actually 1% ESPN and 25% Fantrax. So all is right with the world as far as ESPN, man. Come on, guys. You guys need to add.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to call you out.
I was really hoping that you guys
if you weren't going to call him out, man, I'm glad you did, because I was going to be like, wait a minute, maybe did a White Knight, did he fall off the horse maybe just potentially on this one? That's all right. No.
I was like looking at it and I was like, we had just talked about him. I'm like, ESPN, what is Cameron Johnson? Is he like selling people in fantasy to pick them up, right, or what's happening? So, right. All right. I'm sorry. All right. Go.
My bad, guys.
You're good, man. No, turnovers galore over here, bro. It's all good. Oh, man. So we're just a couple more things here. So Jacob, do you want to at least, give the listeners that do points leagues any, quick recommendations for the week for those that do points league streamers there, brother?
Yeah. So here I have the list here, and unfortunately I need to update this too, because PJ Washington is about to miss some time here, which is so unfortunate. So I need to take him off that list. I made that on Friday, and then he fractured, what was it, his pinky or one of his fingers?
One of his fingers there.
But that's a bummer. Hopefully he's not out for too long. But Gary Harris is starting to lose a lot of love in points leagues and 9-cat leagues, which I think he's only going to get better as the season progresses here. And I think that he's definitely worth rostering for this week in points league. And then as you can see, Alec Burks, he only has 2 games, but he's still going to go off in those 2 games. So I think he plays on Wednesdays. So Monday and Tuesday, you don't have to add him until Wednesday if he is available on your wire. Now, I was talking to some of my friends who were, they know that I join you guys on this podcast and that I write, and they sort of like jokingly asked, okay, so who should I pick up this week? I'm going to read your articles, and I'm going to use it against you. And I was like, I would be thrilled if you did, because that means that you're reading and you find it helpful. But I plan on actually dropping Burks either today or tomorrow, just because he has 2 games this week. And even though he's been doing great in a points league, you can make that up. Even like if somebody else grabs him, I don't mind cutting bait in a points league for a player who only has 2 games. Now, of course, it depends on your league size, but most points league sizes is around 12 teams, which I wouldn't be afraid to drop him. But he still will produce in those games that Warriors have, because they have no other choice. So I would definitely look to stream him once he does play on Wednesday and I believe Friday. And then Jay Crowder, he's always on my list. He always, he gets you minutes in the 30s. He gets you he produces across the board, man. The stuffed burrito stats, like LT says. Love it. And then Bazemore is starting. He's not doing as well as we would have hoped when he took over that starting role, but I only see him getting better here. Then I need to update this because I do have Corey Joseph here, and Fox just said that he wants to play. But I'm going to keep him there until I do hear that Fox will for sure play. A lot of players like to say that they want to play, but of course for us, we'll believe it when we see it. Rudy Gay is a fine streamer this week as far as points league goes, because he produces across the board in limited minutes, and you're not hurt by that poor field goal percentage. So those are some highlighted players for points leagues.
Yeah, and let me say this on top of that. So PJ Washington, I'm glad that was brought up. So the person that I think he's going to be out for a couple weeks. So the guy that's going to pick up the slack potentially could be Malik Monk. They even talked about Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, which is, odd. And honestly, Cody Martin is another player that you can, at least think in your mind. But those are just a couple of players to say. And then also I wanted to say, Lonnie Walker, he didn't have he had, his birthday was yesterday. He didn't have the best game. Well, actually, he was having a good game until he got injured. So the good thing is, from what my understanding is, he went down on a non-contact injury. Now, as you guys know, the non-contact injuries is like the worst. But it looks like he might have basically, he was okay. So hopefully, in that aspect, if you're in honestly, he's a dynasty format guy, right? But if you are, like I said, if you're safe in the standings, and somehow the Spurs it's hard for them to see them tank ever, but that's just one guy that you want to have, as Jacob would say, on your watch list, moving forward. So if we can, before we get down there, I was going to say, I think, before we get, I want to go to some of the back-to-back games real quick. I think just the back-to-back, I think the only back-to-back for earlier in the week is at Monday, Tuesday, where Phoenix is going to have back-to-back games. So just real quick to the listeners, if Mikal Bridges or Cameron Johnson or Tyler Johnson's available in a deep format, you could deploy one of those players if Devin Booker seems to be out a little bit longer, Monday and Tuesday. So that's the only team that is going to be available for those back-to-back games. So a pickup is going to be worth 2 pickups, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Tuesday and Wednesday for those back-to-backs is Charlotte, the Pelicans, or Orlando. There's no back-to-backs on Wednesday, Thursday, nor is there any back-to-backs on Thursday and Friday. And then Friday and Saturday, it's a lot of teams. I'll just say that. So just keep in mind, the biggest days, the lighter days, is going to be Saturday and Sunday. So I'll just go ahead and skip to Saturday. Charlotte, the Los Angeles Clippers, Milwaukee is the Saturday and Sunday games for back-to-back games. Sunday and Monday, the little cheat code that Jacob added additionally for you listeners, this is a good one, that following week from Sunday to Monday to juice that orange a little bit more, to give you that early look, is Indiana plays Denver and Toronto Sunday and Monday the following week coming up. So just keep that in mind. So if we could scroll down there, LT, I want to get to the bottom here, and then we'll get to a dynasty outlook on Bradley Beal here momentarily, and then we will get to the clutch shots. Now, this is one of the things I love that Jacob definitely added in the waiver wire and streams, and I believe I can envision people starting to Sharingan, this is what LT would say, or even use a Sage Eyes and copy this in a way. Jacob puts this nice layout of top 100 players that played recently that could be on your waiver wire. So, Jacob, if you don't mind, can you talk about some of these players that's been given that production, or are they worth an ad? And, LT could touch up on this too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just to preface, we like to keep it to everything at least like 50% and under. Now, when it comes to the top 100, this is based off of Yahoo. So as you can see here, number 1 is Nerlens Noel. He is blocking shots, field goal percentage, rebound, no turnovers. That's huge. So if you want to keep riding that wave as he's producing and getting those minutes, I would definitely consider that. Like we said earlier, Denzel Valentine, he's been getting minutes 18 to 20 to 22. And last game he got 26 minutes, where he actually scored 16 points and 4 threes. So he's definitely worth riding the wave as long as he is getting minutes. And Otto Porter Jr. is out, which it seems like he's been out for the whole season, and he'll probably be out for the next few weeks. So Denzel is definitely an ad here, probably in 16-team leagues and higher. And definitely worth an ad right now, as he is producing top 100 if you want to take a stab in 12 and 14-team leagues, just to see if he can keep it up, because he likes to shoot threes and he likes to steal. So that's always valuable here. And for number 3, I'm going to pass the ball here to LT, man. What do you think of your boy, Ivica Zubac?
My man Zubat, man, he's been evolving into Golbat recently. That's a Pokemon reference right there for the listeners. But he's been White Knight likes that one. He's been a big man dandy, and I'm a little upset with you, White Knight, at this list. New Orleans Noel is one of my secret hidden sage eye jutsus I've been looking at for pickup in most of my leagues. He has been catching fire, and he giving you those big man stats at that 4 position. Yeah. And so, there you go. And then Ivica Zubac as well. I love my big man, and I hate to say it, but Ghostface Killer, Earth Sanity. Yeah. Remember Earth Sanity, Starks? Earth Sanity.
I sure do.
Ilyasova is also producing in those deep leagues and formats. If you need a big man that's doing big man things, 14-team leagues. 14-team leagues. Ilyasova. All right, that's all I got over the start.
Hey, that's the reason why I said it, because you know what kept sticking out in my mind? Is I see Dunder Mifflin there, man. Michael Scott himself at 4, man. Hey, listen.
You like that?
Yeah, I do. I do love that. Listen, Michael Scott, Dunder Mifflin, he's not going to be a world beater, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, that top 100 production in particular for what he's doing recently, that's nothing to take lightly. I mean, you just deploy him as, Jacob, LT, and myself, when we're trying to stream players, we want to just catch that lightning in a bottle real quick just to get that week going. And if once that person dries out, then you just pitch them. But then any other players I could talk about? I mean, I've already touched up on Lynn, Tim Hardaway Jr., Garlic Jr. That is, this guy, man. As LT knows, I kept saying, and I don't think he was on the episode, Jacob. Let me ask you this, Jake. I'll tell you what. I don't think Jacob was here. If I was to take off Tim Hardaway Jr.'s mask, who would be? What other NBA players behind that mask? Who would you think would be, Jacob?
If you were to take off Tim Hardaway Jr.'s mask.
Yeah, who's the other NBA player similar
like
to him
that
in fantasy?
He's most similar to?
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson?
No, you take Tim Hardaway's mask off, he's Norman Powell. That's your guys' guy.
Oh, come on.
Hey, but to
don't
be fair,
do Norman.
I know Norman Powell's been really good. It's those steals that's been really helping his value, but I just don't know how sustainable that is, but that's good. I got nothing else. Is there anything else you want to touch up real quick on this top 100 here, Jacob?
Not on the top 100 because we already went over Alex Len, George Hill, and Sedai Osman. They're playing well, and I would definitely keep riding that wave. But in my ad list, I want to touch up on Joe Ingles. Like I said on my list, in my Silent Night article, if you guys want to check that out, I actually highlighted him as one of the players that I do expect to climb his way back into the top 150 at least, because he's somewhere in the 200s. He's having a slow start. But recently, as you can see here, he has been averaging 30 minutes, 11 points, 2.2 3-pointers, 4 rebounds, 6.7 assists, and 1.7 steals. I mean, like that is over his last 6 games. That's a large sample size. And so I would definitely give him an ad here to hope that he keeps building off that, because he had such a great year last year. I know, because I had him in a points league where he helped me be undefeated all season. So, I mean, like, Ingles is a solid player. As long as he is averaging 30 minutes, he should get you some valuable stats. So, like I said, I want to be cheesy here, but Ingle bells, Ingles all the way. You know what I'm saying there? Pick that man up.
You know what's funny about that, White Knight? You know what's funny about that? We in our last podcast, I saw that Ingles bells, and I had to let the listeners know what kind of content they were getting into when they picked up the but I thought that was actually pretty funny too, man. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Nice, brother. That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Hey, man, you was supposed to attack him, man. We were waiting for that, LT, man.
Oh yeah, I forgot about it. It's funny because I forgot about it, but he brought it.
He brought it up. Exactly.
He found a way to bring it up.
I did that mess on myself.
I know he was feeling that plug, that Ingles.
Absolutely was.
Oh man. So we'll get into the third quarter, and then we'll get to the fourth quarter clutch shots. And the third quarter that I want to dive into real quick is a dynasty format here on a player's Bradley Beal. Now, I'll let you guys, to the listeners know this. I do like Bradley Beal as the next owner, but what I was a little concerned about is I really, I didn't share this because I'll at least say it like this. I know a lot of people don't want to hear some of the truth on certain players. And what I mean by that is, and I could be wrong on this, but I'll just, because, I'm not afraid to put, I'm an aggressive type of coach, at least the logic on certain players. I really, in my heart of heart, and I hope I'm wrong, I felt like Bradley Beal reached the ceiling last year. I don't know how much more he can get better. Now, a lot of people might think a little bit differently, but for me, I think he reached the ceiling last year. Now, this season in particular, do I think he's going to have a better season this year? Yeah, absolutely. He's ranked, value-wise in the 9-cat category league 32 this year. He was ranked 14 last year. He's made improvements in a sense. So you're like, well, his usage rate is going up this year, which it has, 3%. That's excellent. His minutes has been about the same, close to last year. His points is more. His 3 points is a little bit more. What's dipped? His assist is up. And it's like, well, what's wrong with him? His free throw percentage is up. So why is his value a little bit detracted this year versus last year? Well, I'll go ahead and get to it. And as you guys know, the massive cheat, it's not even a cheat code, is something that I harp on very deep on any player in fantasy now. It's the steal rate. The steal rate can really hurt a player's value in 9-cat category leagues because a lot of people don't just get the high volume of steals in a sense. So that's why in a Z score that I've mentioned, the median score, if you're averaging at least one steal a game, that's considered good. If you average one 3-point game or one 3-pointer a game in fantasy, that's not good anymore. It used to be like 6 years ago, but everybody's shooting the 3-point shot now, right? Here's the thing. Bradley Beal is only averaging, from my understanding, one steal this year. He was averaging 1.5 steals last year. And not only that, he was at 0.7 blocks last year. That's another additional unlock to you guys. Blocks is a rare stat to get. So a guard getting 0.7 blocks last year, that's really good. He's not averaging 0.7 blocks this year. He's at 0.3. So those took massive dips. It doesn't seem like it's taken a massive dip, but that's a massive dip when it comes to 9-cat category leagues, and that's what can destroy a player's value. So in my logic is like, I don't know if he can sustain that pace, and he hasn't, right, for this year. Now, for the future, what's his future hold? Well, here's another thing. John Wall, is he going to – we know John Wall, is his career over, right? We got to think that. Is it potentially over? Is he going to even be back with the Wizards? Is he going to stay with the Wizards, right? And if he let's just say hypothetically he comes back healthy enough and he's decent enough, well, that's going to hurt, you would think, Bradley Beal's value too. So to me, if someone believes in their heart of hearts that Bradley Beal is going to be a top 12 player and better this season, I would try to sell him, and people are going to still buy low on him, which is warranted. So I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's an excellent player. Does he have the potential to be a top 12 player? Yes, absolutely. He was drafted in redraft leagues as that in a 12-man league, like back in first round. I just couldn't pay that price because it was just more of a gut feeling. And of course it's like, well, it's easy, Starks, because John Wall's not playing. Why wouldn't you? I get it, but the stats right now doesn't lie, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. And again, his usage rate is up. So if your usage rate is up, you would think you're going to have a better season because he's taking more shot attempts this season. You're thinking he's going to do a lot better. His assist rate is up this season. You're like, well, what's the issue? Is just because of the steals and blocks, right? And his points has jumped up a little bit this year. So in that standpoint, in a points league, he's fine. That's definitely fine. But that's where I hold in a dynasty outlook. So the 3 to 4 window, the logic is this. I think he's more of and maybe about 2 to 3 years from now, he could be a top 25 player better. And I know that might, kind of be basically, a little sensitive thing to say, but that's just the honest truth, at least what I hold for Bradley Beal. I think he's an excellent player. And I believe he could potentially still be a top 12 player, but I don't want to hold that, that logic to think that. But if he does, I hope I'm wrong. Any thoughts on that, LT, at all?
No, that was beautifully excuse me, that was beautifully spoken. Especially in dynasty formats, man. Bill, you would think that this year would be his best year, and unfortunately after that, he's probably going to start dwindling down a little bit. Hopefully he can hold where he's at now for a couple more years, even if Wall stays. That should, that would help him still because Wall's a distributor. But I'm with you, man. I love Beal. Beal's a guy that I love to watch play, and he's a great guy. But in a dynasty format specifically, got to think about the future and whether that's sustainable where he's at right now. But I'll go ahead and pass the rock over to White Knight if he had anything to say.
No, I mean, we are 3 for 3 on this. Beal, I loved getting in the third round in redraft leagues last year. But to pay a first round price, I wasn't even thinking about it, like you said, Starks, just because, I mean, everything was lining up for him. Like you said, Wall's out. So he's just the only guy there, left standing. But he's been doing so much for a few years that there's bound to be a little bit of regression. Sorry. Yeah. And he is 26 years old. And I believe it's like his 7th season in the NBA. There's a lot of tread on those tires. Saying that though, if I was competing in a dynasty league, and you could pry him away from someone, I would definitely do that. Speaking as a guy who is in first place and wants to keep it that way, if someone were to offer me Beal for, a few players or a pick that I wouldn't mind losing, I wouldn't mind having him on my team just because I know he's going to ball out this year. He's probably going to ball out next year. Like you said, in 3 years or 4 years, I don't know where he's going to be at. I don't know if the Wizards will trade him off to try to get as much value as they can so that they can rebuild. But yeah, I mean, I agree that he's definitely slowing down for sure.
Yeah, and lastly, like I said to the listeners, it's not to put a damper on this guy because this dude is still really good. And honestly, about the 3 to 4 years, he's like between the 12 and 20 range, I guess I'll say. I know I said 25, so I think maybe more of the 12 to 20 range in value. But we'll get into the clutch shots. But before we do that, I just want to say you guys check out newlifefantasy.com. Make sure you check out the articles that, me and Jacob has put out recently. The Silent Night with the K. Check that out. Devin Booker, his dynasty outlook there as well, too. The waiver wire streaming options that Jacob has put out as well. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, Sub-Zero style that. Make sure you hit that bell. It's dinner time. Comment below. Give us a thumbs up. It keeps things going for us, so that way we can get you guys content consistently, as well as make sure you join the mailing list and join as a member on our website, newlifefantasy.com. So that way, whenever an article is released, and information is brought up, you can see that. And we're going to be running a free listener league, competitor league. So what type of league you guys want to do with us, let us know. But we want to definitely make sure we get you guys to that. You guys, in that sense, once you join, you'll be able to get more of a breakdown of that. So in that sense, also, I guess that's what I have. And again, like I said, subscribe to the podcast. We're available in just about all podcast formats. So thank you there. So the clutch shot I'll actually take is, I know this is a basketball podcast, but I think and LT, he doesn't like baseball, but he kind of does just a tad bit. But I'll say this: it looks like, I think Corey Kluber, is that right, Jacob? That goes to the Rangers, brother. Man,
he got traded to the Rangers basically for nothing. I mean, I think it was
maybe because of the injury. You think that was kind of skeptical on, or what you think, man?
Possibly. I mean, but I still don't like it. Like, the Indians are trying to fire sell right now. Like, they're trying to get rid of Lindor as well. So I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I don't know.
Well, that's my clutch shot. I'll pass you the ball actually right there, Jacob, again. A fast chest pass there. Do you have a clutch shot, man?
My clutch shot is Merry Christmas to all of you guys. You know, we got like 10 more days till Christmas. I hope you guys are getting all of your shopping done. And I mentioned this in the Silent Night article, but if you need some ideas, you can always get anyone a nice, beautiful basketball. Everyone loves a nice basketball. So, you know, just a piece of advice here. It's a universal gift here. But no, I mean, like, I didn't have anything. I am working on an article for this Wednesday. I want you guys to be surprised, but it does have something to do with a few players returning and what their rest of season outlook will look like. So I hope you guys will be on the lookout for that.
Nice. LT, you got a clutch shot there?
Yeah, I wanted to highlight my guy, Thigh Bully Matisse.
Yeah.
He's been getting some extra run the last 4 games. And I believe White Knight actually mentioned that he hopes that the coach there in Philly takes note of this. And I think he will. Korkmaz, on the other end, his minutes have been on the decline. So just looking at this, with Josh Richardson comes back, it's going to be interesting to see who gets the minutes going forward. Is it Thigh Bully? Is it Korkmaz? But if it is Thigh Bully, if he is able to sustain 20 to 25 minutes, even when Josh Richardson comes back, he is going to be a fantasy dandy the rest of the way. I am putting all chips in if you can get them. If that happens. But that is my clutch shot. I'm gonna pass the rock over to you, Starks, for the finale.
All right, for finale, you guys can follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Yeah, follow me on my Twitter handle. Yeah. It's @Starks_industry. You can also give me a follow on Instagram, One Closing Hero. You guys, just give me a follow and ask me any questions at a prompt time. Again, I get more DMs than I get public tweets, which is fine. It's because I know you guys are competitors. I love it. The only thing that I ask is if you're going to, ask me a question, I will give you a list of free things to do, but it's very helpful for us to continue to get our brand growing. So I don't mind. I love to help you guys. So that's where you can find me at. And I'll pass you the ball, Jacob. Where can I find you at, man?
Thank you, brother. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Ain't Done Yet. And done is spelled DUNNE. It's been super humbling for all of you guys to follow me and to ask me questions both on DM and publicly. I would love for that to continue and grow. If you guys want to follow me there, I would love to answer all of your questions for sure.
Nice. LT, where can I follow you at, man?
You can find me on Instagram _Sage Network _. You can also follow me on Twitter as well at Sage Network X. And have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your Sundays.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, I'll say, Jacob, LT's been doing good in your, the time that you're in the cave writing your articles. He be saying giving you a follow there. He says the DUNNE, man. It's classic when he says it, man. He does a good job in your defense there, brother.
I appreciate that. I think.
Hey, oh yeah. No, I got you, man. I just when I was first starting, you would always say, "It ain't done yet" with 2 N's. You would always emphasize 2 N's. So I always do that as well when you're not here to make sure they know where to find you at.
I appreciate that, brother. That means a lot. Yeah, man, absolutely. It's just a little play on words with my last name there. I got to clarify.
Hey, man, what you don't know doesn't hurt you.
Oh, don't hurt you. I like it, brother.
Starks does it. Starks does it.
There it goes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, listeners, God bless you. We love you guys. With that being said, have a good evening, morning, afternoon, and take a ride.